Hey, Joe Gilder here. Welcome back to another round of Mix Together. I forgot what I was doing. This is season 2 or volume 2, whatever I end up calling this. We're working on the song Fool's Gold by Sunday Muse. We did our static mix in the last video and kind of figured out what we're doing with some panning on those vocals, how we're panning the guitars. Levels are feeling pretty good. I might do one more pass through just to make sure I'm happy with where the levels are before we start doing some of the real work. But also one thought, if you're watching this in the future and they have developed a standing desk for studios, I want in. You saw on the first video I showed you my desk, and so it's a big studio desk, but if I could put something under it that would raise the whole thing up and down so my speakers would raise up to ear level when I stand up, man, I should probably just develop that, and then I would sell tens of them to the 10 people that think it might be a good idea. Anyway, that was my random thought of the day. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to go through one more pass and listen and just check levels, especially on the drums. I want to make sure I hear those okay. And then I'm probably going to go through and listen to their mix. So they sent me a very rough, not very rough, just a static mix with no processing on it. So essentially their version of what I'm doing right now. And so I'd be intrigued to hear what theirs sounds like in comparison to mine, maybe get some ideas for mine of what they might want. We talked about the vocal panning. They told me their vocals were both panned to the side, and there really wasn't anything panned up the middle, so I'd be intrigued by that. But yeah, let's do one more listen through and make sure we really have this static mix locked down. By the way, there's no rule that says you can't spend a ton of time on your static mix. Just don't rush through it. Give yourself time to really listen through before you reach for it. As tempting as it is, you can see on the right-hand side of my screen, there's plugins, right? I could drag them in and I could do all sorts of things. And yes, I do hear things like there's some stuff, EQ, I absolutely want to do on that guitar, but I'm not doing it yet because I want to get everything balanced and in place first, because nothing sounds awful. It all sounds good, and there are things I want to do, but I really want to do this part of the process well because it makes the rest of the process so much easier. So with that said, let's listen again.
Come a little closer here. No need to try and hide nor fear. Your lips may lie, but I know your soul tells every truth it holds. Come in all of your ruin. You've carried enough from all that it has been. Cease the need to be a prideful king or queen, having control, looking for the fool's gold. Wandered off, lost and gone astray, tried to find a way to go, but oh, just come home.
Well, I am a cluttered house, locking doors to keep it in or out. There's room
For you in me
to fill every crack between. Tear down the walls I have built and empty out all I've tried to fill. So
seize the need to be a prideful king or queen, having control, where the fool's gold. Wandered off, lost and gone astray, tried to find
that final note with like it's like a sustain chord, the sustain of the chord, anyway, it's the chord with the sustain 4 in the, anyway, it's just pretty. It's just pretty. Anyway. So when you get to the end of your static mix, what you should probably have are sections that need some volume adjustment. Like the vocals jump out a little bit too much. So between some automation and or just the way the compression's going to work, that'll be solved later. But overall, the bulk of the mix should feel pretty good the whole time, which is what I have. The bass is a big one where it's doing some cool stuff, but if I turn it up to where I can hear what it's doing, then it's too loud, right? So compression's going to help us there. I've mentioned that already multiple times. Probably annoyed you already. So let's go in and listen to their mix now. And just kind of, I love the song. It feels so good. I don't want to over mix this. That's my biggest concern, is doing too much to where it doesn't feel like it does now, which right now it just feels very natural. I want to enhance it. I want to add some things, a little bit of effects maybe, like on those background vocals, but I might leave the lead vocals really dry because it kind of feels like what this style of music is leaning towards anyway. So let's listen to their mix and see how we're feeling. I've got that routed somewhere else on my mixer, so make sure that's not too loud. Here we go. It's not too loud at all. Let's turn it up. Let's turn it up, you dummy. Here we go. All right.
Come a little closer here. No need to try and hide nor fear. Your lips.
So they've got the main guitar on the left and his voice on the right. That's an interesting dynamic because it balances it out. I'm still leaning towards I want vocals up the middle, but that's interesting.
Come in all of your ruin. You've carried enough from all that it has been. Cease the need to be a prideful king, queen, having control. Looking for the fool's gold. Wandered off, lost and gone astray. Tried to find a way to go. But oh, just come home.
So now that second guitar is on the right with the mandolin, which is fine. I think I like the way I've got it panned more. One thought, the last song that I mixed for them was she was singing lead the entire time, but there were sections where he sang with her, and they wanted to have them not panned exactly the same. So I think this is a good compromise of lead vocals up the middle, harmonies off to the side. I think that's going to work for them pretty well.
Fill every crack between you. Tear down the walls I have built. Empty out all I've tried to fill. So seize the need to be your prideful king, having control. Looking for the fool's gold. Wandered off, lost and gone astray. Tried to find a way to go. But oh, just come Sees the need to be your prideful king, queen, having control. Looking for the fool's gold. Wandered off, lost and gone astray. Tried to find a way to go. Our ships have cast away, drifted out, raging waves of unknown. The lights guide us home.
All right, so can we just all agree this is a beautiful song? It's just beautiful. And there's a bunch of lessons to learn here. Biggest thing, one of the biggest things I run into, issues I hear when I listen to people's mixes and do critiques and things like that, is they're trying to like go from a quiet section. So just then, right there at the end, it gets really quiet with the ooze, and then it builds into this final thing. That even in the one you just heard, their mix and my mix so far, there's no automation, there's no compression, there's no nothing to make that feel like a great build. It's baked into the music, right? So sometimes you get tracks, and if you find yourself trying to mix using mixed tricks and automation to make those transitions happen, sometimes you've got to do that. But the lesson, of course, is if you can do that with a performance, it happens so much more naturally, and that feels humongous, even though there's not that many tracks happening. It draws you in. It's such a good, well-executed performance that I'm not going to have to do any cool mixing tricks to get that to build and feel bigger. I'm going to enhance, I'm going to do some things, but it's already set itself up for success, if that makes sense. Okay, so those are after listening to that, I've kind of shared some of my thoughts. I'm still feeling good about where I've got it. I think one other thing is they have the tambourine pan to the right and the shaker to the left. I really like just keeping all the drums up the middle. It feels more simple and kind of like it holds down the fort. I feel like if I'm going to have tambourine to the right, I really want something else to the left to balance that. And I don't, except for that one section, those two little sections here where the shaker comes in. Those sections, it would balance it out, but the rest of the song, it would be kind of off by itself. So I almost like to treat the snare and the tambourine as one instrument that are hitting together like this, right? Instead of two instruments, one's off to the left. That's just my opinion. Obviously, you can do whatever you want on your mix. That's how I'm going to proceed forward on this one. So we can call this video kind of static mix part 2. I feel so much about doing a static mix is the literal moving faders and adjusting panning, but there's a lot of it, the bulk of it, I mean the whole thing, the whole mixing process is up here in your head. But especially now, you're kind of having to think logically of, okay, this guitar is playing the entire time. If I pan it, will there be something on the other side to balance it? So for example, with the vocal, the lead vocal he's singing is off to the right in their mix. Is there something to the left to balance it? Yes, there's that guitar to the left, so that's cool. But then her voice comes in on the left, and now we're getting a little left heavy. But then there's a guitar that comes in on the right, so we're good. But then she starts singing lead, and now it's kind of more left heavy. And to me, it feels like it's a little too much tugging back and forth. That said, I was listening to one of the Beatles records the other day, and they have, all the drums over here and the bass over here or whatever they did, and that works too. But for this, and for the sake of consistency with what kind of I hear in the world, in the market, and also how I mixed the last one, which they liked, I'm probably going to keep those vocals up the middle and probably keep it a little more simple there. But I'm really excited. In the next video, we're going to do kind of what my next step is after doing the static mix, which is to start to prep the entire mix, which means getting my mix bus processing in place, which will include the compressors I showed you, turning those on and getting them kind of feeling right. But then also playing around a little bit with some console sounds. What do they call it? Their mix effects, their console shaper in Studio One. So I'll pull this up. We're going to engage this and listen to the differences, see if it helps or hurts the mix, because it essentially makes it sound like we're running through a console, adds a little bit of warmth and all that those catchphrases that you use. We'll talk about how I set that up and get the mix bus processing rolling in the next video. And I predict this will not be as long of a series because it already sounds so good. I want to get in, get out, and get this thing done, because the longer I mix this, the worse I'm going to make it. So I'm going to try to do what it needs and nothing more and see what they think about it. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.